Good morning, folks. Just bear with me. Just got a couple of tweaks to make at this end. Hope everybody is well. Good morning, Ken Alloway. How you doing, buddy? Hope all is good up at Alloway. Just can I confirm the sound is okay? Just want to check before we get started. That's just me divesting myself of my selection of very healthy snack bars. Can't complain, Ken, although I don't know why I'm saying this because it makes me sound like a buffoon. I pulled up on the car park, ambled down to the spot, thinking everything's good in the world, bouncing along almost, tiggerish. And I'm starting to set up, and I'm like, where's my rucksack? Of course the rucksack's got the camera in it. Where's the rucksack? On the back seat of the car. So it's a very tiggerish pace. I've had to gallop back, all self-inflicted. I don't know how I left the car without it on my back, but I did. Thanks for confirming the sound's 5 out of 5. Downside to that is me eating this Sorin bar is probably a little bit too graphic. But I figured the energy's useful. Looks like they're running reverse ops still here, even though the wind has shifted around a bit more to I'll check in a minute, but I'm sure it was going to be northwesterly, but there's no wind speed here. I think the cut-off is generally around 5 knots if I remember loosely. Anyway, first incomer, EasyJet from Belfast. That was some way short of a bacon sandwich. Well, I think you can just see there while we wait a tail fin of a Jet 2 pushing back on its way to Geneva. I think I might have to alter the camera position slightly once we've dealt with this first incomer. I kind of set up for a 50-50, so if they went for normal ops I'd be good and reverse ops I could live with. We'll see how this one goes. Well, I can see it. Paul Denio, how are you, buddy? 5 square with you, jolly good, buddy. Well, I'll bring the camera around, shall I? No, I'll leave it for a second. Looking at sky and bushes that's for the Nature Watch channel, which obviously is for another day. Ken, exactly. Where's Wally? I'll tell you where Wally is, standing behind the camera. Honestly, I was walking along. Normally you've got things on your back, under your arm and all that malarkey, and I was just bouncing along, feeling as fit as a flea. Right. Better get ourselves in the zone. It's like it's coming in super slow motion. So if you spot any exotic birds of prey or something in the shrubs, shout it out in the chat. It looks pretty divest of aviary type action. So we'll content ourselves waiting for our incoming EasyJet. Just watching the Jet 2 pushing back over my shoulder kind of suggests that reverse ops is still on. First of the day. Some nice plumes of rubber. Just feel the breeze picking up a touch, but that could be the backdraft off the incoming plane. I often wonder about going to Belfast for the spotting experience, just for something different. And I think it's probably just a legacy of the Troubles, where you kind of think if you turn up with a bunch of kit, is it just going to be a problem of some sort? No one seems to stream from there. I mean, shout it out in the chat if you've seen a Belfast stream from anybody. I'll look it up. It's just not that far away from here, you know, in a plane. It's those pesky bushes taking us out of focus. On one of our shows, if you see that's all been trimmed down, you can probably figure me as a prime suspect. Gareth Roberts, good morning to you. Happy Saturday indeed. Hope that's a sign that you're not working today, mate. The other thing that I think is working our way today is we have a Dreamliner departure to Bridgetown, which I think comes in as a positioning flight from Manchester. It's overdue now, so therefore great chance of catching it for the show. It's nice to get it both ends. And just looking at the in-chat poll that I set up, finally having had a look at what you can and can't do, and it seemed quite a pertinent question to ask with the daylight coming our way and the clocks going forward relatively soon, all that, whether it would be a good thing to start, if the traffic is there, at 6 o'clock on a Saturday or even any other day, you know, sort of breakfast showy kind of thing. So it looks like the yeses have it at the minute, early days. It's an interesting one because obviously a lot of people in the UK form the bigger part of our watcher base, viewer base, but we get a fair degree of around the world as well. And of course everybody's on their own time zones and rhythms, but no, I'm definitely up for that. I think when the summer schedule kicks in, you get a healthy number of departures. And on a reverse ops day like today, well, that's a lot of noise. First metro train of the day. Well, it's interesting, looking at flight radar, I can see the Emirates 380 in the destination Dubai livery, extensively pictured on Twitter and Insta and so forth. Over the North Sea, probably about 10 miles off the coast from North Shields. Zip chance of picking that one up, even if my camera and my camera skills were up to it. Clouds fairly low, as you can probably tell from the backdrop. Kind of funky livery. There we go. First departure of the day. On Geneva bound flight. Customarily here, 737. Although it is interesting to see that Jet2 have a reasonable size order in for the A321, which will be their first Airbus acquisitions. Hopefully we'll get to see some of that. Even better if they could send some of their 75s this way. They pretty much seem to be at Manchester, don't they? Our incoming Belfast flight, just putting across in the background. Sorry folks, I was slightly off with the camera there. I can hear something zooming behind me. I thought, what the devil's that? So out of my 10 o'clock to my position, I also see another Jet2 pushing back. Away she goes. Right, bring us back to terra firma. I did say there was another Jet2 that was pushing back. It's just unclipping at the minute on the tug. I'm just going to rest the camera there, folks. Ken, you're for that Jet2 livery best. Yeah, I think I'm with you, mate. The other one looks, I don't know, like it could do with a refresh, but just that's my 10 penneth. So, let's open the show formally. So good morning and a very warm welcome from a pretty chilly Newcastle International Airport. Cloudy, dry, 10% chance of rain they say. I think I said that last Saturday, didn't I? So thanks for joining us for Plain Sailing Aviation's Saturday show. By way of introduction, for anyone that is new to the show, I'm Mark, your host, and the basic plan for today is to stream through till around 11:30. Possibility of extending if there's things to show. I think that's the thing. I'm never going to switch the cameras off whilst there's electricity to burn if there's action. So let's just see how that plays. So I'm in good shape here, and I hope you are all likewise. As Gareth Roberts was saying earlier in the chat, Saturday and all that. No sweeter feeling when you don't have to work. Anyway, let me know in the chat how you're doing. If you've not been in the chat before, please take the plunge. It's a friendly chat, and it's all the better with everyone in it. Looks like that's just been driven around for practice. That was me getting all excitable, as I'm prone to doing. The main thing anyway is, whether you're in the chat or not, enjoy the show. And as I always advocate, make sure you've got regular access to your drink of choice. Tea, coffee, whatever. And I think I referenced it a few minutes ago. Something slightly different in the chat today. I popped a poll in simply to canvass views on whether an earlier start for morning shows would be attractive to people if there was action to show. So please do add your vote. It's something that I'm quite keen to get a feel for. With the summer timetables kicking in, obviously the traffic is going to kick up a bit more, which for regional airports like Newcastle is a real boon. So let us know. Simon Kirby, good morning. I'm in very good shape, my friend. Although I was saying to Ken earlier in the chat, it's all the extra exercise I've managed to pull in. Well, I got to the setup spot and realised that I'd left the rucksack in the car. So that's why the walk here was initially very easy. Paul Usher, good morning to you. Hope you're well. It's all good. So here we go, bit of Ryanair action. I think this is the Faro flight, if memory serves. So keeping an eye on the horizon for the incoming Chewy 787 Dreamliner positioning flight. I think it was due in at something like 7:10 this morning. Running late, which is not unusual for a positioning flight. But with reverse ops, it could just sneak up on the back of me. Literally, I've got to keep looking over the hedge behind and consulting flight radar sporadically. Well, Simon, it's interesting you say that. I did smile to myself and think, should a 57-year-old bloke be yomping along like this? And I thought, of course he should. Shouldn't have forgot the rucksack in the first place. As Ken said earlier in the chat, where's Wally? I mean, generally it's not a good look, is it, to leave a very packed rucksack on the back seat of your car. It kind of invites the curious, doesn't it? Yes, I think I could stand a bit of Algarve action, Ken. Definitely need a bit of a top up in terms of a bit of a tan, as far as I tan anyway. Let's see our ground ops chaps at work. Yeah, the good old stripy jumper. Bag with swag on the back. Oh, and while I'm busy pontificating and visualising the image that you've put in my head, Simon, I spy with my little eye our Southampton bound Loganair Embraer BRJ 145. Snuck out. I'll forecast for today, I'll cut to that in a second, Ken, but basically it's benign, so it's 10% chance of rain. I think it's north westerly wind. I'll have to just double check that. No real wind strength, which is why they are continuing with reverse ops by the looks of it. And you're right, Ken. LAX, I'm thinking specifically of Peter and Josh at LA Flights, if I remember my loose facts on that one. Absolutely crushing, isn't it? I mean, it's never a good time to be robbed. I think the trouble is, for those streams that are technically very sophisticated, and there's a degree of predictability to movements, sooner or later people start to case the joint. A bit like you see in the UK, that spate of burglaries with Premier League footballers. You know, living a fairly open lifestyle with Instagram and Facebook and so forth, showing their wealth, which is their choice. And then there's other people who just see that as the shopping channel. Well, I'm thinking, Ken, that what you've got is what we'll get, roughly. So that'll be interesting. Melbourne Aviation had equipment taken recently as well. Oh, right, is that LAX as well, Simon? Oops, crikey, I'm being inattentive. Sorry, folks. Because that's the other stress, isn't it? If you have a lot of kit and you're doing an overseas stream and you have to check any of it and you don't get the stuff back, it's gone somewhere else, gone on the wrong flight, it's a disaster. Luckily we're not that kitted up. So basically when we went to Dublin the other week, and when I go to Schiphol later this month, everything will be in the cabin with me. Assuming I don't leave it on the back seat of the car. Right, as we wave that one off, let's prepare to wave this one. Our Faro-bound Ryanair 737. It's interesting, Ken, I have tweeted Loganair about this business with Flight Radar. Just out of curiosity, no response, so I think I was minded towards sending them an email, just out of curiosity. Well, you don't have to reply. There must be a reason. Martin Gallagher, good morning to you. How's your Saturday looking? Thanks for joining us. Ken was asking about the weather. It is that 10% probability of rain, although that was the case last week. Let's see. Overcast. In terms of the wind, it's a west-northwesterly. When I looked last night, the forecast was around 6 mile an hour, 5.2 knots, with gusts at around 14 mile an hour, 12.2 knots. It's not gusting at that strength, and I think that we're probably barely scraping 5 knots, which I think is why we're still continuing with ops in this direction. Quite happy with that. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Simon. Less is more. To be honest, when we were testing live streaming in the second half of last year, we did experiment with putting different bits and bobs on a screen to see what you could do, what you could get away with. But truth be told, you're right. People turn up to watch the planes and hopefully enjoy the company. I love that shot. So good morning folks, anyone that's recently joined the stream, welcome to Plain Sailing Aviation's Saturday morning show from Newcastle International. You're just watching a departing Ryanair heading off for the sunnier climes of Faroe. Lucky things. I'm Mark, your host, so thanks for taking the time to join us. Hopefully you're going to enjoy what you see. It is a regional airport, so traffic levels aren't as intense as you would expect at Heathrow or Manchester for that matter. But there's a decent range of movements on the cards today, so let's just settle back. Hopefully you've got refreshments to hand and enjoy the stream. Certainly in terms of airlines, we've got a decent range on offer, scheduled and charter. So we've got British Airways, Loganair, Aer Lingus, Lufthansa, which is in the classic livery today, I understand. Air France, HOP, KLM, TUI, Jet2, Ryanair, and of course the ubiquitous EasyJet. And a reasonable range in types as well, so a number of different variants of Embraer, Airbus. We've got a couple of heavies. We are expecting a 787 positioning flight in from Manchester, which goes out to Bridgetown at about 8 minutes past 11 if memory serves. Our incoming Emirates 777, which is scheduled in at 11:20, last I looked was running on time, although to be fair that was probably about an hour and a half ago, so it probably stands a bit of a check. Grant Finley, good morning from Scotland. Loving the show, thank you mate. Salzburg Airport. Now I like Salzburg, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't really run the rule over the airport. I'll have a look mate. I mean, no commitments obviously, but I am interested in going to places which aren't as well covered. And I do love Austria. Robin Harrison, good morning to you. Hope all is good. Martin Gallagher, I still haven't gotten to the bottom of that house on the hill that your wife was asking about. It's eluding my less than, not Marple, who's the Belgium chap? Pyro. My Pyro skills of investigation. Something to work on. So, what is coming over the horizon? Our Dreamliner, folks. So, let's have a look. It's just approaching, heading on the wall, which is to the west of my current position. I would say probably about 4 minutes out. So, yeehaw! Couple bleeping on the deck. I've got a Jet 2 that is going in the classic livery to Lanzarote. And what's this other one? And the modern Jet 2 livery is on its way to Tenerife. Both of those transponding away cheerfully. I'll just move the camera around in preparation for the Dreamliner. So there's our, it was the Lanzarote one, wasn't it? Yeah. I think we're going to need the bird scarers in. Some synchronised flying there. Show. So I'm just craning over the far horizon. Martin Gallagher, I will crack the case, mate. Trust me. I think I said last time I was going to go home that way, and depending what time we finish today's show, I will do that, as long as I'm not dripping wet in rainwater. Simon Kirby, thanks mate. It sounds like the Emirates triple is still broadly on time. Passerby 10:11. Thank you my friend. It is hard work, but good work. I think I can speak for every live streamer. It's great to be able to share what you see, whichever airport we're at or so forth. It's quite energising, and of course you meet great people in the chats and actually down at the airport too. Here we go, enough talking from me. Lovely. I had it in my head, maybe it's for, I don't know, it's one of those illusions, but the wingspan on the 787 was actually bigger than the 777, but not the case. Apparently. It's a good thing I'm not in tailoring, measuring people for suits and so forth. Sorry folks, it's a bit blurry at the far end. Oh, lovely smell of Jet A1. I'm just going to pull her back slightly. That's just, there we go. Algernon, sour gravy, good morning to you. Pleasure for the stream, mate. I've not seen you in the chat before, so I don't know if you're new to the channel, but welcome. It's great to have you with us. Just checking out this incoming positioning flight, 787 Dreamliner. Martin, thank Mrs. Gallagher. I'll make sure I have something to report next show. Andrew NUFC, good morning, buddy. No Eddie today. I think he was shocked by conditions last week, so it's just yours truly. So welcome along. I take it you've put to bed last week's results. All about today's result, isn't it? Certainly at the Leicester City end of things, a trip to Southampton, I don't know, it's going to tell us where we are. And we don't generally do that well at Southampton. Certainly when it used to be the Dell, we used to get beat with regular monotony. Had the odd result at St Mary's, but I don't know. Kevin David Payne, good morning to you. Good morning, Andy P. Hope you're all well and enjoying Saturday. So our Lanzarote flight is now taxiing out. I'm going to cut to that one in a minute. Algernon, you're a newbie. Well, listen, mate, we all start as a newbie. So great to have you with us. Hopefully you'll come back or stay with us and join future shows. Delighted to have you with us. Whereabouts are you from, my friend? Where do you live? Simon, that's not the spirit. I've got to be honest with you, I just think that it's not going to be our day today. But we'll see. Algernon, you're in Cambridge. Jolly good. What's the weather doing there, my friend? I'm assuming fairly chilly. So I just want to give a quick shout out for our fabulous mods. Currently in the show we have Ken Alloway and Paul Denio, Dopey Gorp and Alibi 58 being the other half of the Fab Four. Right, let's try and catch a bit of the Dreamliner. Seen somewhere in the week that Boeing have suspended Dreamliner delivery and production. Some kind of certification paperwork issue in relation to fuselage components or similar. Not sure if that is a new component or something that might have a retro footprint. It's caught the eye. Andy P in the pink, my friend. In the pink. I love being down at the airport. The only thing I ever ask is it doesn't rain, which of course, you know, there are no guarantees on that one. So Cambridge is cold but scattered sun. Take a bit of sun. I have this hunch at some point in the show we're going to cut back to usual ops. That sock just seems to be lengthening. So it looks like this one is going to get the jet bridge. So they'll need to be pretty smart away, because that's generally where the Emirates parks up. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. So, a very warm welcome to anyone that has recently joined our live stream. I'm Mark, your host for Plain Sailing Aviation. Hope you're having a great Saturday. And if you are at work, I hope that you won't be at work for too much of Saturday. So, welcome to our Saturday show. On air till around 11:30, hoping to catch this plane when it goes out at 11:08 on its way to Bridgetown, Barbados, and also we'll have the incoming Emirates 777, which is currently slated to arrive at 11:22. Let's have a look. Algernon, the Dreamliner A was Chewy's first delivery. The rest flowed sometime after this test plane for Chewy. Oh, that's interesting. That's what I love about this show. You put a group of aviation enthusiasts together and all kinds of things follow. Andy P, delighted to do Glasgow. And even more delighted to say I'm going to be back there on the 26th of March. So details in due course, so please do make sure that you've got the notification bell selected. So we will be back doing a Glasgow Edinburgh double header. I think with the A380 due to resume at Glasgow on the 26th, we'd want to be there for that, weather permitting. And as it's a fair jump from Northumberland, which is where I live, we'll stick Edinburgh either side of it. Not quite sure which day yet. Could be a Monday, could be a Saturday. Deborah Speller, hello, how are you doing? No, they're not getting the jet bridge. Ken, are those Norwegians still parked up at Prestwick? These 737s? I think they're 737s. Have to zip up, folks. It's just suddenly feels a lot colder. So ground ops team diving on in. Carl Shield. Good morning, Carl. I was thinking of you the other day, indirectly. I was just looking at the Premier League table and Manchester United's position, and if they won their game in hand, I don't know if they're not a viable long shot for the title this year. I don't know, I mean, I'm not boosting Man United, I'm Leicester City and that's it for me, but I don't know. Handily placed as a long shot. Excellent, Andy P. I can't wait. I'm just hoping that the weather gods are kind. I really enjoy Glasgow. Bit less keen on the M8. Martin Gallagher, see you soon, buddy. Can't whack a spot of exercise, can you? So let me have a quick look, see. You know, my fingers are so cold, I can hardly activate anything. So as Ken's called in the chat, next departure should be, well, looking at this, it's bleeping away, would be the EasyJet, not EasyJet, get it right, Mark, Jet 2, 737 for Tenerife. Although, interestingly, I'm not seeing a time on that. So looking at incomers, it looks like Ryanair's Dublin flight might be our next incomer. Just past 8:30. British Airways and KLM also expected within 15 minutes of that point. KLM at 8:45. British Airways 8:35. Looks like we're running a minute late. To make that up if they want to. And in terms of departures, our next departure, which I think is going to be pushing back soon, so let's just rotate the camera. See this hive of activity. Give you something fresh to look at. So just looking to our in-chat poll. First one I've actually managed to do myself. I think Eddie did one when we first started out. Eddie being our backroom editor. The question being posed was, would people welcome an earlier start to morning live streams if there's action to watch? I think I gave 6 o'clock as the indicative start. It's all about when the daylight comes back, which is fast approaching. At the minute, it looks like it's a solid yes, 70% in favour. If you think differently, add your voice to the mix. We are a viewer-orientated channel, so please do give it a view. And as always, if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you like what you see, please do hit that like button. And of course this weekend welcomes back Formula 1. I don't know whether people are particularly exercised about it. Quite like it myself. So Bahrain being the opener. Qualifying today. Looking forward to catching that up. Quite sure what time it starts, if I'm really honest. I've been that focused on pulling bits and bobs together for today. Well, I think whilst that is just being unclipped, let's go back to our Dreamliner. I'm going to gas it up. Just fired a quick snap off, can't resist it. Well, Carl, I think you'll have a nice time, mate. I like Edinburgh, I like Glasgow. To be fair, sounds like I like everywhere, doesn't it? So, let's roll back to our departing, or shortly to depart, EasyJet Belfast flight. Ken, yeah. I think you should declare a bias, mate. Are they saying that? Living there is the biggest vote of confidence, isn't it? When I moved from Leicestershire up to Northumberland, people used to say to me, "What you moved up there for?" I should look back and say, "Well, because I like it." Looks like we're back to standard ops, folks. I did wonder whether the switch was going to be thrown. I'm kind of glad I've set up in the way I have now, 50-50. Well, Simon, at some point, I also want to be able to move this around to look at late afternoon and evening as well. Thing is, with the regional airports, you're kind of looking for packets of movements that make a live stream a reasonable proposition. But I'll declare a prejudice. I'm a bit of an early riser, so I quite like the idea of streaming early. But saying that, just as happy to be streaming into the early evening. I mean, at the end of the day, we are a bit of a broad church, aren't we? Everyone's got their own preference. Margaret McKenna, how are you? Celebrating your birthday? Is that your birthday you're celebrating, or somebody else's? I'm game for most things, but I can't see me belting out happy birthday. I think the Noise Abatement Society would probably serve me with a writ. Quitting Cat, how are you? How's things in New Zealand? Are we late hours there, or are we now into the very early hours? I can never quite remember. Moonchild, good morning to you. Sorry if I've missed anybody in the chat. Try hard not to. So as always, welcome to the show, anyone that's recently joined. I'm Mark, your host, and we're going to be on air till about 11:30. Show highlights are going to be the outgoing Chewy Dreamliner. Oh, hang on, I've just spotted some light action. You get these bonus moments, don't you? Quickening Cat, you've been in the Lurkers Lounge. Have you put the snacks out yet? Oh, Moonchild, you're up by Newcastle. I'm flying out of Newcastle on the 8th, going to Boston. Where are you connecting through? Yes, Quickening Cat, our first tiddler of the show. I was hoping for a sort of sprinkling of bizjet action, to be honest, but we seem to be a bit light on that for today's show, unfortunately. Or that was the case when I checked flight radar when I came out of the house this morning. So you are looking down the runway, that's runway 25, at a Belfast bound A320. Quite getting the focus. Heathrow, very good. I presume you're going with British Airways to pick up your Boston flight. Just going to rest the camera over here for a jiffy, just alter the view slightly while I check flight radar. The benefit of swapping back to usual direction ops is the arrivals are not going to surprise you. Quite useful to see what the next incomer is, and that is the Ryanair Dublin flight, having took off around 46 minutes ago, and that is just turning, or about to turn in over the Northumberland coast as we speak. So the flight radar says 2 minutes, I think probably 4. Not sure what's coming in there. Could it be that light aircraft coming back? He's doing bumps. I've got visual on the incoming Ryanair. Yeah, I think at the far end, I was looking at that, Ken, it is blurrier than I would like. I don't know for the life of me what gives there. It can be a little bit hazy at the back end, depending on conditions, light and whatever, but that is not what I'm used to. I'll have to watch that. Can be a particular problem on hot sunny days, but then again that's not uncommon. So just checking before I go for the Ryanair, I'm thinking we're not blurry at the minute. I think it's more about chasing things at the back end of the runway. We're certainly at 1080p, 60 frames a second. I think this is more to do with the camera, if I'm honest. I think it is struggling with the light levels at the back end, but we'll see. This particular camera is not as hot with low light conditions. I'm Henry Arth, good morning to you. Alibi 58, good morning to you, sir. How's things? Gordon Hooton, how are you? Welcome to the show. Don't think I've seen you in the chat before. Apologies if I've misremembered. I'll come back into the chat in a second. I'm assuming British Airways. No, we have an EasyJet A320neo on finals at the minute. I'll pick that one up in a second. I'm not going to chase it early because we seem to be getting some blurring at the back end. So a couple of arrivals in short order. EasyJet from Geneva and the Heathrow shuttle flight immediately behind. So, anybody else that's joined us recently, welcome to the show. Hope you're enjoying things, taking it easy. Thanks, Simon. I do sweat the details though. I'm always interested in that little bit more. I mean, that was the whole reason for doing the test, the pop-up test on Thursday. For different reasons, obviously the weather being what it was last Saturday, it kind of still triggered the question about boosting resilience, so that was worth popping out for. And the same with this really, I'm just kind of curious. There's nothing adjustable at this end. I think it's just the light conditions. Ali Bhai, having a brew? Top man. Sorry folks, I'm trying to scroll the chat and pan. I think I'll concentrate on panning. We're back in a sec with the chat. British Airways are just about to come into useful range for us. I'll trap this Neo for a little bit longer. She scoots off to her gate. So by way of forward notification on future shows, we're off to Schiphol, as I understand it's pronounced, on the 18th and 19th of March. So date for your diary if you'd like to see us in action there, or the action from there more accurately. And then we're Glasgow on the 26th of March, and Edinburgh either the day before or the day after. If I find a suitable gap and reasonable degree of interest, I might do a pop-up midweek from Newcastle as well, but only if I can find a reasonable density of traffic to show people, ideally in that sort of 2 till 5 type window. I can see a Chewy 737 bleeping away directly in front of me. We'll see it shortly as we track this British Airways to its gate. KLM shouldn't be far off with their incoming flights. I think that's an Embraer E195E2. Stand to be corrected in the chat. I quite like the 195E2, so I'm hoping I've not dreamt it up. Scoot Airlines indeed. Yeah. I think it must be one of the Japanese, or certainly Far East, low-cost carriers. Airdo or something like that. Always makes them smile. Ken, I've just realised there's a telescope award earned already. Look at that. Snuck up without me realising. I'll let him go there. Simon, I always think of the 220 as the Wookiee. Thank you, Ken. So that is on its way in, and I'm delighted to report I can see it. It's a little dot on the horizon. Ken's given me my first telescope of the day. For new viewers of the show, these are awarded for moments that I've been slow to catch or have missed entirely. Generally I average about 3 a show, so I'm a third of the way there. El Zorro Eterno, good morning buddy. How is it with you? Carl, I didn't realise that there were no Embraers in Dublin. Didn't really register with me when I was there for the live stream. I was too busy sucking in the new environment. So let's have a look at our incoming KLM. I think we'll make ready for it. Take a nice leisurely pan, like a leisurely stroll really. And there you are. I'm not chasing. We'll leave it as a UFO for the second, given we're not quite getting the visuals that we would expect this morning. So that plane left Amsterdam 52 minutes ago. Simon Kirby. Oh, that's a good point, mate. Well made, my friend. So you're right, Wookiee. Quitting Cat, no worries. Thanks for joining us. Good old Bedfordshire. I like that one. Some fairly heroic stuff being up that late. Of course, I'll be flying with KLM when we go to Schiphol. I do intend to do a trip report on that one. Never flown with them before, and therefore doubly excited. Now these guys really do scoot KLM pilots when it comes to taxiing. I can't wait to see this one go out actually. Absolutely beautiful to observe as they come over you. Well, my view anyway. Well, I have concluded, despite the lack of wind and the fact there's cloud cover, it is blinking perishing here. Didn't seem too bad when I first arrived. Clive Wotton, good morning to you, my friend. welcome back to the show. How's tricks? Hope Saturday's treating you kind. Deborah Speller, KLM are great to fly with. Your husband uses them a lot out of Birmingham. Oh, cool. Well, if I was excited before, I'm now very excited. Just looking further down. Ken's talking about snow possibly next week. Certainly the internet news feeds seem to be full of it. Just having a look, see what's scooting along the runway. Probably just a runway check. No, a little bit of light action. Clear sky on the east coast, Andy P. Well, we are east coast too. Northerly. Maybe that's a sign of what's coming. Just a little bit of sunshine would be nice. Rainier M. Buchel. Good morning to you. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday. Thanks for joining us. Looks like this one's pitting. Always looks like it's kind of burying itself in the grass, doesn't it? Oh. Les Donaldson, good morning to you, my friend. How goes it? And Paul Usher, you're dead right, mate. It's not raining. And after the experience of last week's show, God, that makes me happy. Just looking, Rainier, at your emoji, the cups of tea. Couple of cups of tea and a teapot. That's the way to live, my friend. Alright, sorry Andy P, you are right, yeah, Glasgow, yes, north of me. But you've got some blue sky. Martin Gallagher, brisk out there with the dog. Did the dog want to come back early? Yeah, it's an interesting point in the chat about the lack of Embraer 190s on US streams. Although to be fair, I've tended to avoid the American ones, not because they're not enjoyable, it's just that the chat tends to whisk by a little bit too quickly. At least it does for me anyway. I'm assuming that is going to be rolling shortly. Yep, that should be moving its way onwards. It is due to go to Tenerife. scheduled at 8:45. So quick reckon up says that's running a little bit late. Let's pull the camera back a tidge so we can see it better when it moves. Alibi, 3 degrees in Edinburgh, but blue sky. Just a bit of sunshine, I'll take that. To be fair, the cloud does look to me on the far horizon like it is lifting a little bit, so whether we'll have a bit of that. Ryanair is drinking Earl Grey tea, very nice. There's a place up the road from us, Howick Hall, which is where the Earl Grey used to live back in the day. And obviously they've got a really nice tea room there, and we quite enjoy an Earl Grey there when we visit actually, which we do quite regularly. But I like tea in all its shapes and forms really. And whereas I take obviously Earl Grey without milk, generally I like my tea with a splash of milk in it. Paul Usher, black coffee. I just need a little bit of something to take the sharpness off it. Ken's extra strong, yeah, me too. Just that little dash of milk in it. And if you're talking favourite tea bags, which is an interesting one when you delve into it, I'm thinking tea pigs, but I quite like Yorkshire Gold as well. As for coffee, yes, I'm with you, Paul. I quite like Dow Egberts. Tetley for Alibi, yep, that works as well. I'll tell you what doesn't work for me so much these days. Back when I first discovered tea, PG tips was the thing for me, whereas these days it just doesn't catch the eye. So here is our outward bound Tenerife flight. Margaret's white coffee. Any particular coffee, Margaret? Some sort of high altitude Colombian? Kenyan? I'm no expert on coffee, but I would definitely agree with Paul that Dow Egberts is a good percentage bet. Oh, classy, Paul Denio. Loose leaf Darjeeling. Martin Gallagher, Ringtons. You know, I've never tried Ringtons, but those who like it always speak highly of it. Now, Ryanair, I couldn't do a drop of whiskey in my tea. That's just too outlandish for me. Although right now, it sounds like quite a compelling idea. Got a bit of warmth in my bones. As to say, whatever works. Ah, coffee pods. Is that like the George Clooney? Nespresso or something? That kind of thing. So I see we are on 76 likes already. So if you are yet to hit the like button and you're enjoying the show, hit the like button, make me happy. I mean, I ask that kindly. At the end of the day, only hit the like if you like. Very good, Ken Alloway. Droll as ever. Well, I'm thinking the people on that plane are just sitting back thinking of those 70-degree temperatures, sunshine, and just general warm ambience. Simon Kirby, Nespresso, but you've tried it the once, but you prefer the Dolce Gusto pods. That sounds very sophisticated. There is always that question, isn't there, with tea, certainly, about whether you put the milk in first or add it. Some people have some fairly sort of polarised views on that, whereas I always figure that if it's coming out the pot, which is preferred, a little dash of milk in the bottom of the cup. But if I was at work, back in my working days, and I was mashing in a mug, I'd put the milk in last so I can make sure that I didn't over milk it. Just seen the update there from Ryanair, 80 likes, smashing. Thank you so much, folks. Sorry folks, I'm just catching the camera a little bit there. Got the shivers. Waiting for that sunshine to break through. I don't know, Simon, you just got to enjoy the poshness, I think, with that one. Or the sophistication. Let's go for the middle ground. Sophisticated. Margaret, what button have you hit? It's not the one that folds the stream up into a little box, is it? Martin Gallagher, milk last. Like I say, if I was mashing in a mug, definitely. But I'm pouring out of a pot, it's the other way around. Funny, isn't it, the kind of little rituals that you adopt when it comes to making hot drinks? Alibi, tea, bag in the mug, boiling water, no milk, no sugar. You see, I can do Earl Grey that way, but that's the exception. Well, I'm just having a look along the terminal. Looks like it's a little hive of activity, so I'm assuming that we're going to get a couple of pushbacks shortly. Whilst we await this Jet 2 Boeing 737 off to sunny Tenerife. Denio. You have people that do it for you. Very good. Yes, Earl Grey is one of those teas that does get complemented by lemon juice, isn't it? I know at the Howick Hall Tea Room, where the Earl of Grey used to live, they serve it with a slice or a couple of slices of lemon. Here we go. Alibi, no, I don't think Nell's been in yet, unless she's just checking the Lurkers Lounge out. What's happening there? Let's have a closer look. It's a bit blurry to me. Let's go. There we go. Now, hey up! Alibi mentions your name and there you are. How's things in Belgium? So our next departure should be the Ryanair return flight to Dublin, which is transponding away cheerfully at 10 o'clock to me and just pushing back. We have Jet 2 going out to Salzburg, due out at 9:10. That's slipped back to 9:23, and KLM and BA go out at 9:25 and 9:30 respectively. Let's just catch our pushing back 737. Nell, no worries. It was nice to hear from you, so take your time. Great to have you with us this morning. 5 likes short of the 100. Bit like the cricket, 5 more runs for the ton. So if you're enjoying the show, please do consider hitting the like button. Peter E, good morning to you, my friend. Welcome back. So I don't, while we wait for this to push back, something that caught my eye in the week. I think I'd seen it in the Flight Radar weekly newsletter. Could have dreamt it. But apparently Antonov have indicated once the war has ended in Ukraine, they are looking to rebuild the Antonov 225, which, as we know, was the largest cargo plane in the world, destroyed during the conflict. Apparently they've got some planning on that. They reckon they've got around 30% of the parts, but the sticker price, they were talking about $500 million, which I kind of figured would be problematic, but I do love the idea that this might happen. So, you know, fingers crossed and all that. Now, very good. Yes, the warm side of the window. So we currently await Ryanair to shift on out on its way back to Dublin. Shouldn't have to wait long for that one. One more light. Oh, the 100's up. As you know, I usually miss those milestone moments. Usually catch up about 5 later. Thank you so much, one and all. Really appreciate the support. And of course, if you are new to us and you're enjoying what we do, please do consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Here we go. So we've got a busy old month this month, off to Schiphol on the 18th, 19th of March. Sorry if I go on about that one, but I'm excessively excited. Not just because I'm going to be going with KLM, but also the adventure that is the airport. So hopefully people will be able to join us for that. That'll be a double header. Not quite got the times worked out yet, but Saturday and Sunday for that. And then we are back to Glasgow on the 26th of March, hopefully for the return of the Emirates A380, and in between times we'll give you a bit of action from Newcastle and Edinburgh. So plenty on. Paul Denio, I've got to be honest, I think this is probably one of those things about giving some uplifting messages, because you were right, without getting political, the costs of peace, if you want to put it that way, reconstruction, $500 million on an aircraft does sound difficult to believe, but I enjoyed the optimism in the story. I mean, there can't have been an aviation enthusiast in the world that wasn't crushed by the destruction of that plane. Well, that's interesting, Simon. A second airframe. That's probably the basis for this idea that there's... It's a bit blurry. That there's around 30% of the necessary bits and bobs, but £500 million, it just seems difficult to see how it will be funded. Ken, I'm excited too about that 380. Just got to keep praying to the weather gods. So just a plug for our in-show poll, because I'm really keen to get as much participation as possible, because we are a viewer-led channel, no question. And the question I've posed is the one about whether people would like to see us start morning shows earlier, with the daylight being increasingly more prevalent, subject obviously to there being action to show. And I think I've used 6 o'clock as the example. Too early for some, but just trying to get a sort of mood of the nation. I mean, if we start at 6 and people don't want to join till 8, or some people don't want to, that's absolutely fine. People drop in and out of shows all the time, don't they? But of course, for people who have got work to go to on a given day, sometimes to be able to catch the action before you go in, or some of the action, so other than being cold, a pretty steady day's weather here. So I don't think this will be hanging around. We'll rest with EasyJet for the minute. Les Donaldson says, wasn't Richard Branson going to have something to do with it? The Antonov 225, that is. I think that it'd be the kind of project that would naturally appeal to him. Something of an aviator, investor, an adventurer. Although I seem to have some notion years back, I know he wasn't successful in being able to buy Concorde off British Airways, but I thought he had some interest in supersonic travel one point. Anyway, however funded, it would be interesting. Just circling back through the chat. In case you wonder where I've gone to. Keith Winter. Good morning, my friend. Just seen you can't be with us for very long. Grateful for the like, mug of green tea and toasting it going. Well mate, you'd have enjoyed our conversation about hot beverages that we had about 10 minutes ago. I think you're the first green tea of the day. Well, I can see our Jet 2 Tenerife flight pushing back, and I'll take the camera straight to it as soon as this light aircraft gets into the sky. So anybody that's joined very recently, welcome to the show. I'm Mark, your host for Plain Sailing Aviation. Here on a calm, cold, but otherwise satisfactory Saturday morning at Newcastle International Airport. Just going to have a little bit of tiddler prop action. And then back to the jets. Which of course isn't a Tenerife plane, it is, as Ken accurately points out in the chat, bound for Salzburg. Lots of intrepid skiers. Up like magic. Clive Wootton can't beat Bovril. Do you know, I've not had Bovril for years. And now you've sowed the seed in my head. There's something really reassuring about a nice hot mug of Bovril when you come in from the cold. Now W, you're right about the lack of runway. It's almost vertical takeoff, isn't it? In fact, we're just about to get another one. Looks like the flying school are out. Glickers, good morning to you. I'm having a blank, my friend. CHC. It'll be obvious to everybody else, no doubt. I'm just not quite tuned in. Right, let's see how much tarmac this baby wants. Not a lot of tarmac. Well, plenty of tiddler action. Glickers, right. Christchurch, New Zealand. Well, welcome to the show, my friend. Not sure if you are new with us or not. I don't recognise your handle, so I apologise if I've missed you. But great to have you with us. Simon, the little ones remind him of a carrier bag blowing away when they take off. It's a nice analogy, my friend. Anyway, while we're waiting for a spot of action, I just wanted to test something else out with the chat, just for fun. So when I was just browsing yesterday, I'd found a flight radar post for the top 6 plane spotting airports in the world. It didn't actually say how the 6 was assembled, but hey-ho. And in the chat some people may have been there or viewed there, I don't know. So Minneapolis St Paul, number 1. Number 2, London Heathrow. We see plenty of that one. Tenerife North, Canary Islands. I'm not sure if that's where Chris from Speedbird filmed a few weeks back. Looked pretty good to me. This one will be familiar. Number 4, Maho Beach, St Martin. Directly under the western approach to the Princess Juliana International Airport. I think we've all seen iconic shots of that one. Munich, which also sounds pretty interesting. and the next one I was mastering the pronunciation of, because I generally rubbish at this sort of thing. Phuket, or Phuket as it kind of looks to me on a page, Thailand. So they were listed as the top 6, and I just wonder what people think. You know, where would your fantasy location be? My card's on the table. I'm quite intrigued by Singapore, and also Japan's Tokyo Narita International. Probably the latter, actually, if push come to the shove. Just seems to have a fabulous mix of tail fins and heavies. But anyway, that's a view. I wonder what your view is. Yeah, I enjoyed that stream, Simon. I didn't get to catch a lot of it, the Tenerife one. I was like wedged in the lurkers lounge, in and out constantly. But yeah, and Skiathos, that's a good shout. That always looks good, doesn't it? Although you have to smile when you see people stood on that bit of a concrete wall in their flip-flops and shorts, looking like they're going to get blown over. Good morning, Mark Carden. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show. And that's an interesting point, Simon. Haneda has the All Nippon Airways A380s. Probably the answer is, if you're going to go to Japan, you need to do both. So we should be imminent with some departure action imminently. There's a lot of imminence in that sentence. Cyril Denham, Hong Kong Old Airport was breathtaking. I'll be candid, Hong Kong was one of those places that I wanted to go for bucket list type travel purposes, but all that trouble a year ago or however long kind of puts you off a bit, doesn't it? Andy P, no New York or Los Angeles, or no that you would prefer New York or Los Angeles? I think you're right, Simon. It would be rude not to, wouldn't it? It would be a lovely thing to see both of them and then say, I like this one the best because, or they were both equally good, whichever. Paul Denio, West Rarotonga, can't even say it right, Rarotonga. I have to ask, expose my ignorance, where's that, my friend? I think I've spoken before in the chat about my desire to do, in fact, hold that thought. Let's just pick the British Airways returning A320 to Heathrow. There we go. Just coming out. Yeah, I've got a bucket list ambition to do a around the world trip, undoubtedly involving the Lufthansa 747. But then you kind of look at the other bits and pieces and think, well, where else would you go? Japan seems fascinating, albeit a little bit daunting probably. I think when I was setting up this morning, Jay Sky was on, wasn't he? I don't know if folks follow that particular stream. Here we go, 2 departures, going to be going on the spin. Let's track the Salzburg plane. Ah, Rarotonga Island, Rarotonga Cook Island, South Pacific. Did not know that. Sounds idyllic. Must be warming up a little bit here. Birds are starting to sing a little bit. Thank you, Ken. Our KLM E2 Wookie. Can't see the tail fin yet, but I am at a heightened state of alert. But what I'm on about, it snuck out while I've been pontificating. Ken, look at that. Second telescope, mate. Told you these KLM pilots don't hang around. Oh, unbelievable. So we have 3 departures in quick order. Nell W, you'd like to think so. Although there's been a lot of tiddlers. Ken, I'm on to, aren't I? Oh dear. So going back to the Rarotonga Islands, just round the corner from New Zealand and Hawaii. Does sound great.